All right, everybody, want to take a second to talk to you about an amazing sponsor. We have an amazing relationship with RayAllen.com. Ray Allen is a one-stop shop for everything dog, not just working dogs. Everything dog that you need, you can go down there, check them out, RayAllen.com. Awesome people. They got everything you need.
Another one of our favorite partnerships is with a Dogtra. They've been with us from the start. Great collars, great ball poppers, great GPS tracking, big dog, small dog, bark collars, everything. I got everything like that they have at the kennel. We use it every day. Be sure to head them up, dogtra.com. Listen for the discount code later in the episode.
Hey guys, it's going to happen. August 16th through the 19th. HITS is coming back. The HITS Canine Conference in Orlando, Florida, August 16th through the 19th. Get on there. It's the biggest, the best. Check it out. HitsCanine.net. HitsCanine.net. Get registered now.
Take the guesswork out of making sure you're feeding your working dog correctly by using Kinetic Dog Food. Hit them up at kineticdogfood.com and look them up on the Instagrams at Kinetic Dog Food. Take all the guesswork out and do it right from the beginning.
We love Horizon Structures. Dude, this stuff is so awesome, man. You can get online. You can talk to them. You could build it you want from mild to wild. They'll come bring it to your place, set it down on your pad, hook up your power, hook up your water, and you can put dogs in it that day. If you don't believe me, check out some guys like Justin Rigney's got a great setup there. Ask him. Check him out, horizonstructures.com.
Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. I am Ted Summers from a very wintry Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's cold as hell here. With me, as always, from Canton, Ohio, which I'm sure is cold also, is Eric Stambro. You have the SWAT boys there today. I saw that.
Yeah, so I had, it was me, and I have that canine school going on right now. So at the facility, we were just, and it's been really shitty, even for Ohio standards. It's been pretty cold. It's raining now, which is supposed to turn to snow and then sleet or whatever shit tonight, which
dude.
sucks. But so anyways, we were inside most of the day. We went out and did some tracking, but at night at 3:00, then I had two huge SWAT teams doing a big medical class. So there was 50 guys there. I left,
but you guys have a heater.
It's heated, yes, and there's bathrooms. So, which is most important in Ohio, apparently, heating bathrooms. They'll come train.
Exactly.
So yeah, and they've done a few medical classes there. That building's 40,000 square feet. They can do stations all over the place and never really run into each other, and it works out pretty good. They thought they were going to land a chopper in a life flight helicopter in the parking lot. I was like, guys, there's power lines right through the middle of the parking lot. Yeah. And I said, you're going to have 45 cars. You're just going to be shooting rock missiles in through everybody's windows with that helicopter. You're not landed here. But they found a school,
they got insurance
on the road.
Yeah. Be all right. They got insurance.
I said, let me know when that's happening. I'm moving my van. So, but yeah, it worked out pretty good. I've got some floppy ear dogs coming in from Germany on the 9th, which I haven't imported floppies in a while, like a long while. But, I've got requests for them. So
I imported some pointy-eared singles recently. And I'll tell you what, man, they're gangster. They're super nice. So, I'm not complaining. And it's just like COVID has just messed up everything. And then based on what's going on now, I'm not sure it's going to get any better. So COVID ends and then World War III starts. So
yeah, we're recording this on the day that Russia invaded Ukraine, to give everybody a little bit of context of what date it is.
Yeah.
So anyways,
there's that.
Yeah. we have a great guest on tonight.
A repeat.
Yeah, this is the second time on. He was on way back in the early stages of the podcast.
Like way back when we did hits in Maryland and DC, whatever, same thing.
Yeah, so we were out inside in the lobby area. People are walking by, and if you go back and listen to the episode, you can hear. But there's so many shout outs to our guests as we're walking by and waving. It knows half the people there. So
we didn't have video back then, so
yeah,
there's no video evidence. But
so here's the weird thing, man. So I always say that our guest coming up is Kenny Licklider. Kenny, how are you, buddy?
Doing good, guys. How you doing?
Good, good. Great to have you
Excellent.
on. So I tell people all the time, you know, it's weird in this industry to be famous, to have fame. I said, and Kenny's, in my opinion, the most famous guy in the canine world. But there's still tons of people who are like, have you heard of Vohne
Yeah.
something in Indiana? And I'm like, yeah, dude. I mean, what are you
Yeah.
even doing? That it's the largest kennel in the United States. What are you talking about? But I mean,
I know.
some guys
So-
play video games, other guys study this business. So, Kenny, it was great to have you on, man. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. You're, you know, been busy as shit forever. Um, so
Thank
what
you.
happens is, you know, Ted and I put out the video and a request for guys that might want to come on that have retired from the military or law enforcement or got out and are doing something in the canine world as a civilian. So Kenny reached out and said, yeah, I do a lot with canine and have for a long time. Yeah.
The response was hilarious because they were like, "They sent us your resume." Somebody did, and I was like, "Yeah, we know." Like I was like, "Yeah, I know who the fuck you are, Kenny." Like,
Yeah.
but I was like, he didn't
My
send that to us.
secretary didn't know if you knew.
What?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I was like, what? That was the internal discussions we were having. I was like, somebody sent this. It wasn't him. Like, because he's been on the show once, and I was like, of course we know who the fuck Kenny is. Like, so I was like, but I appreciate it. Like, I appreciate the
Yeah.
professionalism. It's fine. I get it. That's all. You
Yeah.
know.
Like I just said, you know, there's a kid that works for me, Jordan. I've mentioned him numerous times, and Jordan's a young guy in his 20s, and he's a trooper, and he works for me about half a day each day. He had no idea. He had never heard, and I'm like, yeah, you better school yourself on some of these folks before we have a conversation. So Kenny, real quick, a lot of people know your background. I guess apparently some don't. So let's talk about like this concept we're talking about, how you got what in the military, what you did with the dogs, what your mindset was when you were leaving to you know, because some people when they get towards the end of that stable career, they get nervous.
Yeah.
They're like, what am I gonna do? Well, I mean, guys, you have a skill set. That's what our whole point is. And if you don't mind rehashing a little bit of history for us.
No, not at all. I'm a little older than a lot of the people now. I used to be the young guy. I'm not anymore. In the 70s, there really wasn't a lot going on. And I couldn't afford college, so I had to do something, and the military was my choice. I went in, had no clue about dog handling, had no clue about cops, but they needed cops at that time. I went in, I played a little bit of ball. Back then, every general had his own ball team. So they knew who my father was who played ball. Make a long story short, I got into canine through playing softball and baseball. Spent my entire career in the military, in the canine career field. I got from handler of all kinds of dogs to trainer to kennel master. And then I made some rank and they tried to move me out of it. And I wasn't going for that. I was an E8 in the Air Force. I had 16 years in. I was at a base they were closing. And our good president back then, I won't mention any names to stay non-political, he decided that anybody that was at E6 or above with this, at a closure base could fully retire. And you talked about some people drag their feet. I ran to my commander's office and I told him, I'm not asking you, I'm retiring.
You're and, like, I already got the 214 tattoo. I'm ready.
I got it right here, baby. Yeah. and I came home that night and told my family I'm retired. And I had a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, no job, no nothing. But I knew the military had gotten not right for me. And I knew from training with a lot of the civilians out here that work could be done. Improvements could be made. And I'd been working with quite a few of them in Ohio and Indiana, all around here. So I started a kennel, and my first classroom was in my living room. My first kennel was in my garage. And now we've got over 600 acres, kennels in California, Holland, affiliates in Turkey, South America, South Africa. We're having a blast. We're training dogs. We're training dogs with good people. And that's the best part about my life.
I always like to ask guys, and because I don't think we asked this the first time you're on, that have gotten large. Now, nobody can really, you know, relate to how large you're got, but some guys, you know, they've gotten some pretty decent sized kennels, and I'm like, do you ever sit around every once in a while and go, man, when we had 10 kennels, it was so nice.
It was so much easier.
Yeah.
We do it all the time because in the beginning, you know, we were just busting ass with good young guys, and it was a lot of new stuff, and we're trying to put out the best dogs we could, and we still do that now. But as you get bigger, the complications get bigger. Things have changed so much. When the war started, we were deep into that, and that kept us super, super busy. And I think I've told some people, I think I lost a little bit of sight because I was so busy that I didn't think about keeping that motor running and keeping the contacts going. So when the war had ended, all my contacts had gotten old like me. They had either moved on or died. So we're really pushing it now to get back in there and let people know. You say some people don't know who we are. Well, you know, that's my fault. And right now we're making a concerted effort to let people know that we're here to work. We could be your Indian. We don't have to be the chief. But during the war, we were so busy we couldn't keep up. So now we're trying to build that back up.
Yeah, we remember Ted and I had talked about this before when I think I asked you, or Ted asked you in the first episode, was what happened the day after 9/11?
Yeah.
You're like, the phone just exploded.
It was crazy.
It's probably a poor choice of words, but
oh yeah,
well, yeah, sorry.
I mean,
the explosion, right?
Yeah, right.
The bomb dog prior to 9/11 was just about, well, it wasn't going away, but it wasn't doing anything either. People looked at the bomb dog as something, if you needed it, go find one. 9/11 hit, everybody wanted to get a bomb dog, and everybody wanted to be a bomb dog trainer. People came out of the woodwork. All the bosses went to their training groups and their canine guys and said, make me some bomb dogs. But what they didn't realize is back then there were very few bomb dogs. Most of the trainers were drug dog trainers, and most of them were aggressive response drug dog trainers. So here you go. So here you got guys that were good trainers.
Single purpose, single use bomb dogs.
Hey, all they knew how to do was throw the pipes. All they knew how to do was play towel and get these dogs aggressive to learn the odor. Well, 9/11 hit. They said, get me some bomb dogs. Of course, these trainers, you know how we are. I'll get it for you, sir. Well, the only way they knew how to imprint odor was aggressively. And it's still happening today. There are still trainers out there that are throwing towels and getting these dogs to aggress on a bomb. And they don't know, they're not thinking about law of primacy. They're not thinking about, you're teaching this dog to go out, find it, grab it, and bring it back to you and put it in your hand. So that was a big curve that we had to get through and get over. And some people did and some people didn't. But it was a neat time. The bomb dog, the war, we learned so much about bomb dogs, you can't even write it all down. So bad time, but good time.
So this is a question I don't think I've ever asked anybody, because I don't know where the genesis of this was. Maybe you do. And this is based off of something Ted said, that he's got some pointy-eared single dogs coming in.
Yeah. I
got to tell you, man, used to be able to sell Malinois single-purpose dogs. Now everybody's like, oh, floppy, 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 floppy. What happened? Where did that change, where this narrative came out that it's just too scary for a single-purpose dog to be a Malinois?
Cameras on your uniform. Cameras on your uniform. What's happening with all the things that went on in Minneapolis and all the other places, people were recording. You know, I've been a cop since the 70s, and we didn't have all this going on, which is, some of it's very good because we don't want abusiveness. We don't want all that. But too many guys were making mistakes with their dual purpose dogs. And the bosses now don't want the headache. They don't want to be responsible for that. So their answer is just go to a Labrador, just go to a pointer, just go to something that won't bite. Yeah, and you know they will.
Yeah,
German short hair pointers will bite you all day.
Yes,
the worst ass whipping I ever took was from a golden retriever, and I hate telling people that because I train a lot of mouths, but this golden retriever whooped me. But we still train a ton of pointy ears. The U.S. Secret Service, they prefer them. So, you know, a lot of our customers still do, but a lot of them have switched to the GSPs and the labs, of course, but it happened because of the climate out there now. I'm getting calls every other day from defense attorneys wanting me to testify for them, and I will not do that.
Yeah.
I will not do that, but I do get them to send me now I probably won't get any ever again. But I did
That's fine.
Send the videos and stuff. And what I'm seeing, we really need to reassess some things in our career field. And I'm saying that as one of the oldest guys in it. So I love it. I eat, live, and breathe it. But we got cameras everywhere now, and we shouldn't have been doing it anyway. So I think that's where the single purpose dogs have really took off.
Yeah, it's like a narrative that started somewhere, and then now admins or lieutenants or whatever will say, no, we have to have a floppy ear because of perception, and they don't even know why. Honestly, they just been told that.
Yeah.
Talk about our liability thing we always talk about.
Liability is a myth. Well, and so and that's what I tell. Like these two single purpose dogs that I'm training right now are both pointy. One, the German Shepherd, who probably could be a dual purpose dog, and another, the Malinois is definitely like, he's Mr. Social, and I can tell that he was raised in a house in Europe, and they tried to do some sport work with him, and he was just like, meh, not about it. Like, he'll do it, but he ain't about that life. But fuck around if he won't chase a goddamn tennis ball. And that dude, his name's Aslan, he's great, and super nice dog. But when we got these dogs, like the people that bought them were kind of like, we're worried about the way that they look. And I'm like, well, they look like dogs.
They look like dogs.
I'm like, they got 42 teeth, 2 ears, 2 nuts. I mean, they're dogs, right? And they're like, well, we're worried that they're going to look like that, that, and they're working in a correctional facility. So I was kind of like, what's the hang up? And they're like, well, they look intimidating. And I'm like, don't you own? Well, somebody on the board, I was like, don't you own like a couple German Shepherds? And like, don't you people own these dogs? And they're like, oh, it's different. They're pets. I'm like, no, that's really not. And I was like, it's still a dog. Like, and I was like, and so they're like, well, we're worried what it'll look like. And I'm like, where I'm at, Oklahoma is 100% a fault state. And I was like, if your single purpose dog bites somebody, you're going to have as much liability as if your dual purpose dog does.
Probably more.
You won't, but you won't have any qualified immunity. When your single purpose dog bites somebody, you're hosed. So I was like, it's not, I was like, liability is a myth. Like, it's not a real thing. Like, you give them guns and cars, but you're worried about giving them a dog. Like, and they're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I'm like, well, I mean, come on, meow. Like, so, I mean, their job is to find, these dogs are just to find drugs. That's all they do. And then, I tell admins, I was like, their job is to find drugs and bite shitheads or whatever, drugs and bombs and bite shitheads. I was like, that's their job. That's it. That's all they do. So it becomes this like public perception of, I got to have the floppy ear because it's easier to sell. And I'm like, to who? And I don't understand the concept. And they're like, well, we're worried about errant bites. I'm like, well, what about happens when you shoot someone, even if it's legit? Like, believe me. And you were just mentioning at the time of the body cam and the time of the cell phone cam and everything else, and everybody goes on. And the first thing that everyone says is when somebody uses lethal force is like, why didn't they use non-lethal force? You're like, well, they didn't have it. Why didn't they have it? And I'm like, I don't know. It's not my problem. But what I know is they used the force appropriate for the time and the situation right then, and a reasonable officer would do the same thing. But and nobody ever talks about that, so it's just like back and forth. So I love it, and I do it all the time. I advocate for pointy ears when people come to me for single purpose dogs. I'm like, get a pointy ear. They're awesome. They're easier to find too. Honestly, like, so if you're listening to this and you're a trainer, single purpose like pointy ears are much easier to find than floppies, because everybody's like, oh, gotta have floppy. I honestly, and Kenny, like, maybe you can like weigh in on this, but I think the large government agencies had a lot to do with it, because part of their SOW had to do with sporting breeds. And if you can't see me on YouTube, I'm making the air quotes, but like, oh, they've got to be sporting breeds. And everybody's like, well, I don't want any Malinois anymore. So yeah,
it's a myth. You hit it on the head. The German short-haired pointers are now the in thing, where the labs were the only thing for a long time. And the German short-haired pointer, when I train them, they're different. And if you don't understand that, like, they don't want to sit naturally, they want to point. That's why they're called pointers. Mm-hmm. And
it's in the name.
Yeah, it's in the name. But them little bastards, they want to air scent and run around and lock on as if it's a bird in the bush.
Yeah.
But they're trainable and they're great dogs. So, you know, we'll train anything. I've been getting some yak terriers lately, and if you've never trained one of those, get ready.
Oh yeah,
yeah. In fact, I just put 2 in Oklahoma.
Oh no crap.
Yes, yeah, I heard about those.
Are those naturally like varmint killing dogs? What are they normally?
Yeah, they're varmint killing little bastards, and if they were Malinois, you couldn't handle them with the drives.
No, they're one of my buddies, George, down in Florida at Mary County Sheriff's Office. He has one of our he has Brando, but he also has one of those little shitheads. His name's Kramer. He's an asshole.
Yes,
so
that's funny.
Yeah,
so there's just so many things we can talk about. Real quick, when we're talking about, let's go back to the floppy ear thing real quick. What have you seen? And this is a lot of my questions are going to be from you is the evolution of this industry. When you first started getting into the dog stuff and you were getting, so the first few floppy ears, how much did them damn things cost when you first started?
It didn't cost anything because we got them out of the pounds, out of people's backyards. Remember now, we didn't start buying dogs until 1982. Until then, even in the military, we traveled and would put a sign out there, Uncle Sam wants you, and we'd drive on to a airport or whatever, let the people know we're coming, and they'd bring their dogs in. And you talk about dangerous. We think these dogs that are trained in Holland could be, in Europe could be dangerous. Try to drag 110-pound something out of the back of an old lady's car. And that's how we got them. So we didn't pay
not to mention rolling up on some dude's property out in the middle of nowhere. And you're like, hey, you got any dogs? He's like,
yeah, right. Yeah. He's drinking out of a hubcap.
Yeah,
he's a wolf mixture. I had many of those.
Man,
He'd be good. He'd be good because he bit 4 kids. He'd be perfect.
Yes, exactly.
Get him the hell out of here.
But we didn't see anything.
That's the thing with this whole advent of the anti-pointy ear thing is the cost of these dogs has just gone through the roof, man.
But that's being caused by some of our government agencies. That's being caused, we're supposed to buy American, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the law. Why is the DOD going over to Europe with teams of 15 and 20 buying the dogs straight from them? Why are they doing that? I own a kennel over there. They ignore me. They don't come to me. Why do they do that? That's what's driving the prices up. Right.
And the prices. I have a theory that the airlines are pricing the way they're pricing now to get everybody just to stop. I don't think they want to ship dogs.
They don't.
No, they don't. No, they don't want to.
No.
I think we asked last time you were on that when is Vohne Liche Airlines starting?
We looked at something like that, but it's just cost prohibitive. But why doesn't the government get involved and say, okay, I know that these 10, 20 guys provide most of the bomb dogs around here in the world, wherever you want to say. Why don't they identify us and give us some kind of leeway on shipping? They won't take Malinois on United anymore.
I heard,
And you have to ship in a 500 crate. But the dog still has to conform and not touch the top. What decent dog is going to be able to do that? They're making it almost impossible for us to help the world, and someone should step in.
I have a theory on this, and I've never shipped a Malinois on United, but I've shipped a shitload of German Shepherd mixes, and and there's this whole thing about the service dog deal and like whatever else. The United States is like super weird. This, and like Eric, this. Like if you go to Europe, like dogs are like part of the culture over there, right? And they're like integrated, right? So if you go to a restaurant in Italy, like you could go to a Michelin-starred restaurant in Italy, and you'll sit down at $1,000 dinner, and there'll be a German Shepherd sitting there next to you, and he'll have a muzzle on.
Yep.
Maybe not. Maybe he won't bite you. Who knows? Well, but I mean, he'll be sitting there and nobody thinks twice, right? But the thing is, like in the United States, like we look at dogs, like they're dirty for some reason, like we're in Afghanistan or something, like, oh, dogs are dirty,
Yep.
but they live in our fucking house
Yep.
and like they eat off the same plates. And like I see people all the time like kissing their dogs in the mouth and stuff, and people are like, oh, they can't come in because of health concerns and this. And I'm like, man, my dog's cleaner than most toddlers. Like, leave me alone. So this whole fake service dog thing too is kind of like in the same vein, right? Like emotional support, and then they remove that tag, so you can't do that anymore. And so it became this big deal. And I'm like, look, just let us pay. Like, you motherfuckers love to charge me for extra bags, extra seats, for anything else. Just let me pay to bring the dog on with me. And if he's well behaved, leave him alone.
How many times are we getting asked why we don't raise our own dogs? Why do we go to
nonstop
Europe and buy our dogs?
That has been a theme.
The reason is what you just said.
Yeah.
Our society can't handle it. They spend 3 nights a week and 1 whole day on the weekend with their dogs. They take their dogs to their families' houses. They take their dogs to restaurants. You don't do that in America, and we never will. So,
no. I don't know about Indiana, but Ohio is definitely not a very dog-friendly place. No. So, and here's an example I like to use. We're going to go to commercial break real quick after this. I flew out to California and worked for 4 months for Jeff Franklin on the West Coast contract for Cobra. I got there on a Wednesday. We worked, the very next day. I didn't have hardly anything with me. I flew out there with 2 suitcases. Thursday, we go to Walmart. Dogs everywhere, everywhere.
In San Diego, though.
Yeah, reminder that Walmart is not a franchise. Walmart is a corporate-owned store. When you come here back to Ohio, where I live, there are big signs, no dogs allowed. They will not allow dogs into the Walmart in Ohio. It's the same company. So there's definitely different attitudes. Ohio did just pass, I think last year or 2 years ago, a patio law where a restaurant, if they had a patio, could have dogs in it. And there's a few people that do it, but not many, because they're like, yeah, that's just weird. I never.
The fact that you need a fucking law for that,
yeah.
The fact that government has to be involved in that decision, makes my teeth hurt.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's a fucking dog. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
So that's why puppy programs in the United States will never work, because they'll never work because our society is different. And how are we going to raise enough dogs? And if we do raise a ton of dogs, what do we do with the ones that don't work? I've seen hundreds of programs come and go, but our society's got to change.
And I'm sure you've run into this, but and because this is a conversation that comes up. I mean, from a theme has been a theme from from like episode number 3, we had Mike Suttle on, and it's been a theme the entire time, like why we don't do this. And my answer is always like, it's geographic and it's kind of political and it's kind of like social, which is what we're talking about. But on the other thing, like, we have people come in, and a friend of ours who Eric knows came in, we were in Vegas, and he was like, can you drive me to LA? I'm like, no, I can't drive you to LA. It's fucking 5 hours the wrong way. He was like, well, it's only this far on the map. I'm like, bro, I understand you're from Northern Europe, but it's like driving to fucking Poland from where you're from. It's not like, and I was like, and then I got to come back. And I was like, so the United States is big, right? And on top of that, like, those people, or the Northern Europeans, have like a 100-year history of raising dogs for this. Right. So like, we're behind the curve, and we look at them differently. Like, we look at dogs differently than they do, and they look at dogs for their utilitarian work, right? And they just happen to live at the house, right? But primarily they're for something. And then, they live at the house and like whatever. But here, like, it is the exact opposite. And, I blame other organizations and some other shit, but, and it's a trappings of living like in a first world country for the most part. Not that Northern Europe is not a first world country, because they definitely are, but it's very much a social and geographic thing. And so like, when you fly to Europe, when you fly to Northern Europe, right? Like, you fly into Amsterdam and you've got fucking 70 kennels in a 3-hour drive. But here you fly into Orlando and you got to drive to fucking Maryland and then Chicago. And then, I mean, you're driving 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 hours, like, all across, and you're not even getting to the West Coast. So it's like, the geographic portion of it definitely hoses us without a doubt. So
yeah. And the airports, man, they changed all that stuff. Did you ever used to be able to import dogs into Indianapolis airport?
No, Indy's never been big enough. It was always Chicago.
Always Chicago.
Chicago's shut down. So
yeah,
we're having to go as far as Miami to get dogs into South America. It's getting crazy.
Yeah. I have to drive to Houston from Tulsa. To fly. So 8 hours one way to fly dogs in.
How far Miami is from Indiana?
Yeah, right.
no, I know. I mean, believe me,
it's like 3 days.
Yeah, Kenny's like, he's like 8 hours. Fuck you. That's one day. Kenny's like,
he's yawning.
Yeah.
He's like, man, shit, it's like 17 hours. I mean, I think going from Tallahassee to fucking Miami is 10. So, yeah. So,
all right, so we're going to go ahead and take a break. We come back. We're going to get into like the whole point of the conversation, which will be getting out of the service that you're in and getting into a business or some sort of job that's related to working dogs or some sort of civilian world dog thing. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
HITS Canine Training Conference. This is America's premier canine training seminar packed to the brim with the world's best instructors and me and Eric, all covering important topics. There's no better place to learn and no better place to network with other handlers, breeders, and trainers. HITS 2022 is being held in Orlando, Florida this year, August 16th through the 19th. And I know how you guys are. Everybody waits at the last minute. And in the post-Rona world, everybody's training budgets are being cut and everybody's deciding whether they're going to be able to get to go or not. So don't wait because they're not going to have an infinite number of spots and the price goes up after a certain date. So get signed up as soon as possible. It's in Orlando. We'll see you there. Be sure to hit them up. HITS Canine, letter K, number 9.net.
One of the best relationships we have in this podcast and in this industry is with the great people down at Kinetic Dog Food. The story of Kinetic Performance Dog Food is pretty simple. They wanted to make a better premium dog food for the dogs that need it the most. Their goal is to give every working and sporting dog a higher energy level, better performance, and better overall health through superior nutrition. So they formulated a line of food based on what they considered to be the optimal profile of a performance dog. They've done tons of research on this. This isn't their first rodeo. These guys know what they're doing. If you're a kennel, they will come to your kennel. They will see the problems that you have. They will check out what works for the dogs that you have. They're amazing people to work with. They drop ship a pallet right to you if you want. I know a lot of guys that use them. There's a bunch of different formulas on there, and 32K might not be for your dogs. Maybe the 26K works. They can adjust it. They'll give you the right ideas what to do in different parts of the year. Winter's different than summer. It's really a well-run, good dog food company. KineticDogFood.com. Be sure to check them out on social media too, man. They're amazing folks. KineticDogFood.com.
By now, you've probably all heard my story at least once. I'm usually getting tagged by dogs or hurting myself. So this next product is like near and dear to me because I actually use it. Quick Turn by Vet Care. It does great for keeping small things from turning into big ones. I use it at the kennel for clients' dogs that have some issues with skin stuff or have food allergies or have environmental allergies. Works great. Keeps hot spots from making giant hot spots. And it keeps my working dogs who inevitably find magnificent ways to hurt themselves from turning it into a giant vet visit. Stops little issues from becoming big ones. So it comes in a spray, it comes in an ointment, it comes in a dressing. It's great for creating a protective barrier and promoting wound healing. You really only have to use it like once a day. So there's no reason not to have it in the vehicle. Since it's temperature stable, you don't got to worry about it getting hot, getting cold, or anything like that. So put it in your first aid kit or put it in your cabinet. Vetcare.us on the internet. Quick Derm by Vet Care on Instagram and on Facebook, and then hit them up with the discount code 10WDR for 10% off your first order.
So my entire time that I was a handler or a trainer in law enforcement, the cars at my department, in the departments that I trained, all had American aluminum accessory kennels in the cars. Different cars, man. Dodge Chargers, all Ford models, some Chevys, SUVs, cars, everything. We loved American aluminum accessories. It's a great product, a great company. They've been serving canine law enforcement community for over 20 years. If you check out their website, EZ, that's the letter Z, EZRiderOnline.com. They got testimonials. They got videos on how to. They got a list of everything they have. Just today, we made a post on the Working Dog Radio social media showing a dog that survived a really bad crash because of the American aluminum kennel in the back of the car. check them out online, guys. EasyRiderOnline.com. Just let them do their thing, man. Whatever car you got for your work, your patrol car, get a hold of them, American Aluminum Accessories, and get the best in the business.
Next up comes training courses online from our friends down at Highland Canine Training, Jason and Aaron Ferguson. So in the post-Rona world, training budgets have been getting cut. People aren't going to be able to travel, whether it be instructors or they be canine handlers and supervisors going somewhere else for training. So Highland has announced a lot of online training courses. One of those that sticks out to me is their police supervisor canine course. And it's no secret that one of the problems with canine tends to be some of the supervision issues. This course is specifically designed for administrators and covers utilization as well as liability and FLSA issues. The course can be taken at your convenience, and you'll receive a certificate of completion at the end. When you go to Tactical Police Canine Training, that's letter K number 9, training.com, and use the discount code WDR30, you'll get 30% off of that course.
All right, everybody, we are back, Working Dog Radio, broadcasting The Bite with our good friend Kenny Licklider from Vohne Liche Kennels up there in Denver, Indiana. So those of you, before I ask you a question, I just want to kind of lay out to guys how long you've been doing it and how influential you have been in the way things have been going in this business. So, and we talked about this a little bit in Maryland the one time. I use the box method for imprinting, same as you do. Anybody who is I'm 52, anybody who's my age, in the 40s, in their 30s, who uses the box method, you were taught by someone who was taught by someone who was taught by someone who worked at Vohne Liche Kennels. If you're wondering where that came from and how you got it, and Kenny, I think you told us you ganked it from the Air Force or similar, kind of change it your own way.
Yeah.
But so there, and I'm telling you, like the kid that works for me, Jordan, I taught him the box method. He could go on he's in his 20s. He could go on and have his own business. And where'd you learn this? Well, I learned it from Stanbro. Well, where'd he learn it? I don't know. It's like 7 degrees of separation of that Kevin Bacon game. It's, 6 degrees of separation from Kenny Licklider on whatever it is you're doing. The other thing that's fascinating with me is how many, and I don't know, you probably lost count, how many businesses have spawned. I think we asked you this before and you just laughed because you go, there's one right there. Some people, how many people that have been in contact with you, work for you, whatever, have spawned off and grown up and done their own, their own businesses. It's like you're a farm system for other places.
I can't give you exact numbers, but yes, that's happened, and it's something to be proud of. But at the same time, I lose business every day to my own people, which is okay. I mean, we all got to do that. But back in the early years, I was the one that said passive response is the only way, and I was called an idiot. I was called you're full of shit. It'll never happen, and look what happened. A lot of the things that I've done, the popper boxes, they were invented in about 100 yards from where I'm sitting. And Ray Allen and I were going to go in together and do it. And then all of a sudden they were there with other people doing it. So I guess, plagiarism, whatever you want to call it. We were always so busy that we never even thought about it. I didn't really care. Now that I'm fucking old, and I've got to keep up with things again. I look around, we go to seminars and all these people are using our techniques. I get online and there's a dog staring at a box. I invented that hunting quail in Oklahoma.
That's right.
Okay? That's where I came up with that.
Here.
And well, I lost our best quail dog. I couldn't find him. An hour later, I found him. You know what he was doing. He was sitting, he was pointing. And he'd been pointing for an hour with us driving over the top of him, screaming and yelling. And I went back to my hotel room and I'm sitting on the shitter where I do my best thinking. And I said, wait a minute, what's the difference between that quail and cocaine? What's the difference between it? So I come up with stuff because we do it every day and we let the dogs teach us. Training with multiple odors. In magazines, I'm called a bad guy. I'm called a guy don't know what he's doing. I'm called all these names by my competitors, but I've been doing it for 30 years and we put out a pretty decent product. And everyone will talk about the stew method. They'll talk about how when a dog walks into grandma's kitchen, that dog smells each piece of that stew, but yet they'll only train one odor at a time. To me, that tells me you don't believe in it.
Right.
Yep.
You know? And you know what? I want them to do it. I want them to keep doing one at a time because I'm finishing dogs in 1/4 to 1/12 of the time they are. And if you don't steal from other people in this business that we're in, this great business that we're in, you're left behind. If you're not a thief, you're left behind.
Just don't steal my fucking Rolodex, man. Just that's it, man.
We have some super good trainers in this industry. And,
yes, we do.
And you know what? I tell this to the Europeans a lot, or to people that are not in the United States. And I'm like, we police very differently in the United States. We use dogs very differently here.
Yes.
Because people are like, oh, you people are violent. I'm like, fuck yeah, we are. Guns are woven into the DNA of this country. I was like, yeah, we're violent. We stole it from the British. Yes, we are.
Yeah, that's why we don't have British accents, because of guns.
Exactly. And that's why we have great teeth. So we're
smart enough not to walk right at you with a red coat on. Okay.
Well, right. And so I tell people all the time, like, we police very differently here, and so because of that, because of our case law, because of how our federal judicial system is set up, because of our state judicial system is set up, because of federalism, because we have a weak form of central government, we police very differently. And because of that, we train police dogs very differently. And because of that, we have some of the best law enforcement canine trainers in the world in the United States. Yeah, we do. Better than anywhere else.
And the Europeans know that. They know it. They won't admit it. They know it.
So they have really good dogs, and we have really, really, really good trainers. And we have a lot of them. Yeah. And there are people, that's the thing. When we started this podcast, I don't know, a long time, a while ago, the short list was like a mile long. We're still not even through the short list. So because we have a mile long of trainers that are extremely gifted, extremely talented, and extremely vetted in working. And and it's because of how we police in this country. And that's something that I think is missed by a lot of people that listen to this, either from Australia or because we have a lot of people who listen from Australia, a lot of people listen just from Northern Europe that speak English. We have a lot of people who listen to this from India. So we do things differently in the United States, and it's how we do it. And if you don't like it, I don't, it's how we do it, and it has a lot to do with how our government is and how our legal system is. But the byproduct of that is canine trainers that are really, really, really good at what they do. Whether they work for Vohne Liche or whether it's me or Eric, whoever else, there is some every state. I can pick one trainer in every state that's awesome.
There's so many great trainers, and I tell everybody, the guy that tells you there's only one way to do this is the idiot you walk away from.
So the thing about it is there are tons of very good local trainers that train their guys, and maybe a few other whatever that no one will ever hear of.
Yep. Right.
And when they get out of law enforcement, they
do a really good job. They do a really good job.
And we met a young kid down in Louisiana that's the trainer for his little department. That guy's 25. Maybe he was older than, maybe he was 28 or 29. And I just talked to the guy. We were doing an HRD seminar there, and I'm talking to him in between things. I'm like, all right, kid, you got some, you kind of know what you're talking about a little bit. Yeah. He was pretty good. He's the guy, this is real funny, Kenny, we'll move on. His out command was his last name.
Oh, God.
And I was like, why is your out command your last name? He goes, because if these bastards take my dog and give it to somebody, they got to say my name every single training day. Every training day. I'm like, brilliant.
I like him.
Fucking gangster. I told that story in San Francisco last month when I was there for HRD, and they were like, that is awesome. And I'm not going to name the department that was there, but they were like, that is,
I loved it.
That is magnificent. Yeah, that kid, he would say his name, was like, what? And Eric was like, what are you saying? He's like, it's my last name.
Yeah, Rodriguez or whatever it was.
Fucking.
It was brilliant. So
fucking fantastic.
So one of the reasons why people won't hear from these guys or they're getting out of it is cops are really, and this is such a mistake, man. They're really bad at networking. Like they'll just, I'm tired. I work nights. I don't want to talk to anybody. Meanwhile, you're a cop. And if you're a canine cop, people want to know you and they want to maybe have you involved with some things they got going on. Talk, if you can, Kenny, a little bit about, so you talked about, hey, I'm getting to the end of my military career, but I knew all these guys in Ohio and Indiana and all these other places, and you jumpstart right away with maybe a little base, but these guys are trying to get out at starting at zero gravity, like nothing there. Can you talk about networking and what it's done, and to the extent even where you've had to go with Europe and Turkey and everything else?
Well, networking, when I got out in the 90s, it didn't exist, and we didn't communicate. Like North did it the way the North did it, South did it the way the South did it, and we weren't intermingling and sharing. That started changing, which is great. And there were no jobs in the 90s, no canine jobs. Now, if you're a dog handler and you have your shit together, there are a lot of jobs out there, from the luggage, you know, the searching of the aircraft luggage to TSA to different canine facilities. There's a lot more out there now. And if you just, as you're getting close to the end of your term, if you're military, you've got to network. You've got to get to know people, get on that damn Facebook, which I'm terrible at, but you know, start talking to as many people as you can. Go to the seminars. There were no seminars when I got out in the 90s. They just didn't exist. And now I think the seminar is one of the big things that helps get us together and helps people know and greet and get to know who's out there and who can help them. But new dog people, the police departments, you know, it's been a little tough during the COVID, but the police departments, you know, they began hiring and getting more and more. But all these private entities, FedEx, all these things, they're all using dogs. They all need people, and they're looking for you. So like you said, get out there, let them know that you're out there, get a good resume together, go to seminars, talk to people at these. I'm getting ready to go to Las Vegas, to the big one out there. You know, talk to people. We all like to talk, you know, we're dog people. And the good ones will steer you the right way. I picked up a Marine doing it that way. He comes straight to me. But you've got to sell yourself, but it's out there, not like it was in the 90s.
How do you, how do these guys start? So we get a lot of guys that'll ask us that are good trainers, man. They just don't know anybody in Europe to get dogs from. So they call a guy like me, hey, do you got anything? I'm like, yeah, but dude, you're going to pay too much. You're going to pay, because I paid a lot. You're going to pay, you know, you're the only money you're going to make at all is the handler school, basically. So you don't know anybody to get a dog from, or how to do it. How would you suggest somebody that's, maybe they have 6, 8 kennels, 4 or 5, whatever, and how do they find the guy and someone they can trust overseas? Because you know that's hard.
The last thing you said is the tough part, because these people over there have been selling dogs and raising them for many, many years. They can, in the first 10 minutes of the conversation, know and put you at a level. You're this guy that knows this much, or you're this guy, or you're this guy. And wherever you land, that's all the dogs you'll see. One of our biggest problems for the United States is guys will go over there, don't have much, you know, they don't have any background in it, but you got to start somewhere. They'll pay too much. And once they pay this amount of money for a normal dual purpose drug dog, now they want everybody to pay that much. I wish we could get together. I know it's not, and I know it's not possible, but I wish we could get together and form something, whatever that thing is called. I'm not sure yet, but get it together to where we're the ones that drive the market. Right now, you go over to Europe, you are subject to what they have. And like you said, who do you go to? I know the guys, I got to go on the very first bike trips. I know all the guys, and some are great, some are not so great. And now we've brought in the Eastern, you know, Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, and there's new guys there. And you got to know what you're doing first, and they'll spot you if you don't. Talk to other people that go over there, because the guys like me will talk to you. We'll give you the phone numbers. And don't go over there braggadocious and acting all crazy, but talk to them straight up. And we'll tell you, most of you, I know what we'll tell them what the going rate for a dog is. Don't overpay, because that just drives it up for everybody. And respect them. I've had to bring 1 or 2 of my trainers back from Europe because they called me up and said, get this guy out of here. One of my own guys went over there and showed his ass, acted all, these guys, those are their dogs. They don't want you to act like this. So go over there and act right. Tell them what you want. Be respectful. Don't overpay. Finding who sells good dogs is not hard to do. Just talk to the people. No one trusts us. I've had guys, I can't talk to him. He's a big dog seller. He won't tell me the truth. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. And you know what I wish we could do? I wish we could all band together and form something. I don't know what this is called yet, but form something where a conglomerate buys the dogs at a certain price and brings them back here. Lets them get used to the flight, lets them get used to the, to the area, get acclimated environmentally and socially. And then the smaller guys can come to us. We don't charge them any more than what we paid over there. I don't know how we're going to do this, but it's in my head, I think we need to. We need to quit letting them set the stage. We're the users. We should be setting the stage. But I think guys can find good dogs, and the Europeans will sell to them. Just be smart.
Yeah. Economies of scale. That's the yeah. So we're a large user, and I remind departments too all the time. I was like, a lot of for example, my home department, my home department is not like unique in this, but they require the dog to be imported. They're required to be male. They're required to be a certain size and weight, required to pass health checks, required to pass all the testing and everything else. But I'm like, the requiring it to come from a certain place in the world is like, come on, meow. And they're like, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, you got to understand though. I'm like, you're competing against the Australians, the South Africans, the South Koreans, the Russians, the Chinese,
everybody.
I was like, people that have way more money than you guys do. You guys haven't increased your fucking price since Clinton was in office. Yeah. So I'm like, there's shit that's happened since then. And I was like, and it's the same pool. Like everybody's fishing out of the same pond, and they can tell, right? So, and it's
that
like,
keeps us from that, and we're not fishing out of the same pond because they can tell if you're a newbie or if you got your shit together.
Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic, because a lot of those times too, like I've seen departments, and if you're listening to this, I'm not knocking it, but dudes from individual departments, from a department with 6 dogs, will make an individual trip to Europe by themselves.
It kills us. Yes.
Right. And they're going over and selecting dogs, and I'm like,
paying $8,000 US for the dog.
Right.
Yes.
Because that's their budget. Like that's their budget, right? So, and then we have the whole conversation about the admin versus them, and like the admins think it's their money, and then the handlers and like training sergeants, training lieutenants are like, oh no, this is our budget. So this is what our budget is. The first thing you tell them is like, this is how much we're willing to spend, and they're like, oh, your shit's over there. Like, let's go over here. Let me show you these dogs. And they're like, no, but they're like, no, those aren't for you. You go over here. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, these are the dogs you have to pick from. And they're like, oh, it's great. And then they come back with one dog. And I'm like, man, I asked somebody this in a southern state. They went over and did this, and they came back with one dog. I was like, you flew to where and bought what? And they told me, and I was like, you flew all the way fucking over there and brought back one goddamn dog? They said, I was like, why not bring back like 4? You took 2 guys. You can fly 2 back at a time, so you can fly like 4. He's like, what do I do with the other 3? I'm like, you're a fucking sheriff's office. Like, sell them to somebody else in the county.
And they'll tell you they did it to save money.
Like, I was like, go to your fucking sheriff and be like, dude, let us sell these dogs so we can cover the plane. We can get our dog for free. Right. He's like, oh, I didn't think of that. I'm like, well, yeah, you're not a profit generating venture. I get that. But I mean, think about it like that. Yeah. And so they went back and did that. They brought back like 6 dogs, and they sold, which you're right, it kills us. But I was like, all right, it's great. Like, good. You pick 6 good ones, And they did. They picked 6 good ones, and I'm like, great. So now they got 6 good ones, and like 1 stayed at the department, and the other 5 went to cities and within that county. I'm like, yeah, perfect. That's how you do it.
Good.
And yeah,
I remember, if you go over there like you're talking about, you go over there and show your ass or whatever. You remember Steve Martin in The Jerk when he's working the carnival? He's doing the weight guessing. He goes, you can pick from here to here, here, and then the space of prizes you can pick is this big. And then he goes, step on up and win some crap. That would be if you didn't know anybody, if you went over there with the wrong intentions. But the funny thing is to talk about the difference between the culture over there and here. Can you imagine, Kenny, if you went out to a PSA club or some of these clubs here in the US and you standing there and you're like, how much for your dog? I'll buy him right now. Put him in the truck right off the field. Put him in the truck. And, and they're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, dude, you have a nice dog. Don't think you're going to podium. Here's some cash. Put him in the car. Because a lot of folks don't know that was it for a long time, right? You go to a KMPV club and look across the way, and there's a couple other Americans with kennels and stuff, and that's how you bought a lot of this shit. I think people here would shit if you did that.
I bought 3 of the Dutch national champions right off the podium, and they came here at Vohne Liche Kennels. Bought them. The guy handed me the leash and never looked at the dog again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Because we've had a few PSA people on, and I said, is that ever going to be a thing? And they're like, nope. No, maybe they'll breed.
Yeah,
but that's
not in PSA. I mean, those dogs are like 9 when they get their PSA 3,
right.
And they're like, oh, he's going to retire. It means he doesn't out anymore. So like a long time ago when I was in Europe, I was there and like I was there, racing my bike and doing, stupid teenage shit. And we had Americans come over, guys that are, a couple of them are still in the industry. I've talked to them, but they showed up at this club one night when I was there and I didn't know who they were. And they're like, whose dog does everyone hate? And everyone points at, they're like, this guy right here, this dog's a fucking dickhead. He is nobody likes this dog. He doesn't out. He's this, he's that. He's like whatever else. So they like watch him work and they're like, hey, we'll buy him right now. And I, at the time, I was like, what the fuck's going on here? And the owners were so happy to get rid of those dogs. They're like, he's not going to podium. He's going to be terrible in points. And then, 15 years later, I'm like, but he went back to the United States and he ruined a lot of people's days. So it wasn't a bad tactic. They go over and you're like, whose dog sucks? Like, why do you hate him? They're like, oh, he doesn't out. He's a dickhead. He tries to bite the judge. And you're like, yeah, we'll take him. I'm like, and they give him to you cheap. They're like, yeah. Like, and this is even before the euro. They're like, yeah, and so they're like, oh yeah, 2,000 euro or whatever. And you're like, oh, that seems super cheap. So
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
You spend more on that in stitches, but
yeah.
Before we take our second break, I got one more question for you. It's kind of I don't know, with certain kennels, it's kind of a hot button topic. Where do you land on selling green dogs?
Oh boy, that's a.
Ooh.
If I could not do it, I wouldn't. But there's so many people out there selling green dogs, and the size of my kennel and the number of dogs that I am available to keep here, it's part of what we do. But we try. I would rather not, but I think it's part of our profession now. People they have their own trainers, they have their own people, they have their own classes. They like the dogs that we import. They know we know what a good dog is. So they come here to buy them. And if I had my druthers, I wouldn't want to do it because we're a business and there's no money in it. And B, everybody wants a year guarantee. So they wait till 11 months and 29 days. And then I got to give you this dog back. Well, what did you do for the 11 months that you had this animal?
363 on day 363.
Yes.
They're like, we want to return the dog, and I'm like,
and then I caught one group hurt one of my dogs, and then blamed it on a genetic thing, and I found it in his paperwork that they did it. So most people are honest. Most people we deal with are wonderful. but it would be so much easier for me if we just trained it and we took responsibility for it. When we got to sell it green and we don't know what this guy does with them, it makes it harder on us.
Man.
Yeah, I said something on a podcast once here, and I've talked about it. Part of this a couple of times. I said, those of you who are in the military right now, dog handlers in the military, and you're a cop and you're a dog guy, if you think you're going to get out and start a business and right away start selling dogs to police departments and military, most of them won't succeed. And the reason being is they're a small kennel, right? They only got a few kennels because I had to deal with this. And they sell a green dog and they only make profit maybe $2,500 as a round number.
Because they drop it on purpose to get the job.
Yeah. And the dog gets returned to them.
Yeah.
And they have to, and it was returned to them for maybe like a hip issue, like something that they can't recycle or fix. They got to shell out then money to get another dog. And most small guys, as they're starting out, if that happens to you at all, you're out of business. You retired on a cop salary or a military salary.
Right.
You get one return in your first year of business, it could put a lot of those guys out of business. Yeah. It's tough. It's really tough. The profit margins are not what people think.
No.
And for you, listen, I have 16 or 17 employees on the pet side. I have me and one other guy on the police side. And I'm a knuckle dragging turd, payroll freaks me the fuck out. Every 2 weeks I'm paying X amount of money. But then you start calculating, okay, so I'm paying my trainer X amount of money. My cost here, I ain't making shit. No. And I got one guy. I don't have what you got.
Yeah. We were housing 500 dogs at one time, and we had 20-something trainers. And
God bless.
It was a good time, but now that's gone. And, I'm come from the military. I had no formal training in how to run a business. I did this off a shoestring. But, yeah, you've really got to understand how much it costs to run a place. And I've had to start downsizing a little bit because it's just not, with the war is over, there's just not that much. But, yeah, most people don't get that.
Yeah, and a lot of people, in your size, you bought half of Denver, Indiana at one point. People don't understand that that's hard to go backwards.
Yeah.
It's definitely a business decision, but it's hard to go backwards. Stay like Ted's just increasing where he's at, but he's not going insane. He's not putting in 50 kennels.
Nope.
I hope to have 50 dogs. I don't want fucking full kennels.
No.
I'm small. I only have 8 kennels. I don't want 8 dogs in there though. Because it's just me. It's just me. I don't have all that. And so the profit margins are tough. It's not zero. I mean, you're better off, I think, when you come out, go to work for somebody for a little while, get the acumen, talk to them about the business side of it. Because again, that's the problem, is the business side of it. I have a manager who ran a lot of other things, and she helps with a lot of that stuff. I have good mentors, and I was a networking mofo, buddy, when I was in the police department.
We talked about that in the last interview we just did, the one before this one, about the Kevin Costner syndrome. If you build it, they will come, and that's not how this works.
No.
This industry is not like the Kevin, it's not the Field of Dreams. You can be the best fucking trainer in the world, but if you don't have a business acumen, you're going to suffer. And you can be a fantastic business person, but you can only fake it for so long. So you gotta have both. And
she'll come to roost.
Yeah, you can only sometimes. And
I suspect you and I are very similar. We married up.
You married up. Me too.
Yeah. So my wife works for me now, and she keeps an eye on a lot more stuff than I do because I'm still holding leashes. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. And right before we go to commercial break, I do like to ask guys this: do you ever get to just go out and grab a dog? Or is that long lost?
Oh, no. In fact, when we started downsizing, me and Danny, who's my number one guy, we were training all the dogs while the younger guys were running the classes. And right now I have to get my knee replaced, so it's a little tougher. But no, we're out there every day. If we're not actually handling the dog, we're moving the boxes, we're posting the dogs. No, we're out there every day, every day.
Yeah, for me, I don't live where the kennel is, and Ted doesn't either. We live pretty close, but I always envision that every once in a while it'd be nice, man, at night, just to go out and grab a dog, man.
Oh
Just
yeah, oh yeah.
not talk, just go do the thing. I know Ted likes to he puts on headphones, plays music, works dogs. It's that part can be good.
Yeah.
I just wanted someone else to clean the crap. That's all.
Yeah.
We got a nice lake out here, and I like to go out there. I had a giant schnauzer recently that loved to swim, and just walking around that lake, seeing the fish, seeing the dogs enjoying it. I get you.
Yeah, it's real nice. We're gonna go ahead and take our second break. We come back. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about with Vohne Liche, and I also want to talk about some, like we were talking earlier about, you have to evolve. You can't just be stuck in anything and see kind of anything new that Kenny's been involved in lately. So we'll be right back. All right, we love the Perkinsons down in North Carolina at Highland Canine Training. They are great people, great trainers. They got a good business model. They're awesome folks. We've been with them for a long time. They're also super smart, and they understand that a lot of agencies are struggling to have manpower, so they're not sending people away for training. You guys have been there. You put in, denied, lack of manpower. So they've created an online course section of their website, tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com. You get on there under training, the online course. But here's the best thing is they offer a supervisor, canine supervisor course, which we know a lot of police canine supervisors don't get to go to training. They don't know as much as they should. Right here online, the course discusses topics such as proper selection of dogs and handlers, proper deployment, effective allocation and utilization, as well as liability and the FLSA issues, which we know is where all the legal stuff comes from, interdepartmental. The course can be taken at your convenience, and you will receive a certificate of completion at the end. They're offering an amazing discount, guys. 30% off using the discount code WDR30. It's a no-brainer. If you're a police supervisor and you guys have manpower issues and you can't go, get on tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com under the training tab. Get on that supervisor's course, man. I'm telling you, it's a smart decision.
Another one of our favorite partnerships with the podcast here is the one and only Dogtra. The Dogtra guys have been producing some amazing tools in the dog training world for a long time. Everything from e-collars, GPS tracking, ball trainers. If it's electric and you use it with a dog, they've probably done it. They're the best. They are revolutionizing the way you communicate with the dog. I use it daily, whether I'm using pets. I use the 200C on most of our pets. Most of my patrol guys will use a 1900 hands-free, 1900S hands-free, and then I use the ball popper pretty much daily with all of our detection dogs for imprinting on our box protocols. So hit them up at Dogtra Official on Instagram and Facebook, and then you've got dogtra.com. And when you go there, if you use the discount code WDR10, they'll give you 10% off a single item over $200. So if you're looking at a 1900S or that Ball Popper Pro or one of those things, it'll knock a substantial chunk off there. So hit them up, doctor.com, WDR10.
So everybody knows that Ted and I not only train police dogs, we train pet dogs, right? We train dogs. So it's why our relationship with Ray Allen Manufacturing is so important. These guys have been doing this so long. They knew and they understand that dogs are dogs, and it's not just working dog people that need things for their dog and dog training. So you go to rayallen.com. They have everything dog related that you need. Anything that when it comes to dogs, pet dogs, your pet, training dogs, police dogs, dogs you're training for other departments, anything you need, rayallen.com. They've got it. You can get on there. So if you're ordering stuff for police dogs and if you have a pet side, you can get it all in one, man. They ship it out. Got a nice big box full of a whole bunch of stuff. There's nothing better than getting a big box of dog training stuff in the mail. They also are great to us, and they offer a discount code Working Dog Radio, all capital letters, Working Dog Radio for 10% off. Check them out, rayallen.com. Great people. Ted and I use them every day.
Super excited to have American Aluminum Accessories on board with us here at the podcast. These guys manufacture a wide variety of products, from high-quality cam locker toolboxes to an extensive line of products designed to meet the ever-changing needs of the law enforcement community. Around 1992, due to the demand for safe and secure transport for a local law enforcement agency's canine unit, they introduced the very first in-vehicle Easy Rider canine container. So it was basically what we now call just our inserts. They have continuously grown and expanded the products, catering to the needs and the wants of their valued customers and high-profile clientele, and catering specifically to law enforcement. Over the years, as the needs have changed for law enforcement, they've evolved and expanded the products to include inmate transport systems, the canine training aids, which I use quite a bit of, canine inserts. Every one of my guys has one of those things. And if you're not even have to be in law enforcement, I have several friends that are civilians that work lots of dogs that have the inserts put into their cars too. So if you got one that fits, you can do it. They also do contraband and animal control systems, just to name a few. So be sure to hit them up. The website is Easy Rider Online. So that's the letter E, the letter Z as in zebra, rideronline.com. If you're looking for them on Instagram and Facebook, it's American Aluminum Accessories. Feel free to hit them up there too.
So our first and oldest sponsor that's been with us from the beginning is Arno out at ALM, out there in Las Vegas area. Arno is a great dude. He makes great stuff for police work and sport work, suits, tugs. I'm telling you right now, his tugs are the best in the business. You can't get any better. Multiple colors. I buy boxes of them from him and give them out to everybody. I've got a bite suit from him. Love it. I've had it for a little over 3 years, and it's holding up like a champ. Ted's got a suit that he's had forever from ALM. We wouldn't go anywhere else, man. We love it. Arno is such a good dude. His ALMcanineequipment.com is the website. Get on there. He's got pre-made suits. He can do custom suits based on your measurements. He's got stuff already made up. If you kind of get a kind of generic large size, maybe for everybody, the colors he has, man, is really cool. He can put a lot of stuff on those suits. Check him out, ALMcanineequipment.com, and use the discount code WD Radio for 10% off.
Running a kennel is one of those things that I always worry about is cleanliness and safety of dogs. And it seems like it's an ever-changing issue being able to house dogs and move things around and everything else. So the guys at Horizon Structure make this as easy as possible. Literally, the only thing you have to do is have water and power hookups, and they deliver it, and you can put dogs in that day. And it comes on a trailer. They just drop it off. You plug it in, put dogs in it, and you're ready to rock. You keep them clean, you keep them safe, you keep them cool in the summer and warm in the wintertime. And it's completely custom. You can go complete mild to wild. I've seen some that were stainless steel all the way from top to bottom on the inside. And then I've seen some for a bulldog breeder that, had smaller gates because those things can't jump. So if you reach out to them, they're sitting there waiting for you to call and help you through the custom design process. They have everything from 2-dog ones up to, I want to say like 18 or 20. It's you can put a lot of dogs, indoor, outdoor runs. So anything you've ever dreamed of, they've got it, have done it, or can do it. So they've taken all the guesswork out of building it. Everything is pre-done to your specifications, and it's assembled, dropped off, boom, you're ready to rock. Things are amazing. Rigney has one. We've had him on the show a couple of times. Go check out his Instagram, and you can see he's posted it up there before. Go look Horizon up at Horizon Structures, spelled out. On the internet, it's horizonstructures.com, and you're going to look for the link in there that says commercial dog kennels, or give them a call, 888-447-4337. They'd love to talk to you and get you started on the way.
All right, everybody, we are back. Eric and Ted from Working Dog Radio with our good friend Kenny Licklider from Vohne Liche Kennels up there in Indiana. I hope you guys didn't skip the commercials, but if you did, because I know you did, all of the discount codes are in the show notes. I had somebody reach out to me today, Ted, and hey, what's the discount code for Quick Derm? I'm like, I don't know it. I got so much shit going on, man. I have brain injuries. I can't remember shit, dude. My passwords are written in my arm and shit, in my tattoos.
You're like,
so don't ask me. Get on the show and look.
Password, new tattoos. Yes.
Former TV sensation for a little while there, Kenny Licklider.
Oh yeah,
that was
that was
a groundbreaking show.
That was back in the day.
Yeah, man. People in
the OG Netflix.
I'll tell you this, man. I still use a joke that when I used to do demos, I use a joke that you used on, I think it was Letterman, maybe, was the scientific reason why you use tennis balls.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's because we get them for free.
Because they're cheap.
And
Yeah.
every time I say that,
Super
people laugh, and I
scientific.
go, Kenny, shout out.
Yeah.
Did you see the Letterman show?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He was trying to step me up, to get me to make a mistake. And I was so nervous because I couldn't see what he was doing behind me. If you watch that, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. And I figured he was gonna. And I'm going, I can't screw this up on national TV. But at the last second, there was an actual little, like this computer. I could see what he was doing. Now, this dog was amazing. But you know how you are in a demo.
Yeah.
You don't want to fuck that up in front of
Fucking
everybody.
and dogs are dogs. So
And you remember when he said, and what do you want me to do now? And I, without hesitation, I went, I don't care what you do, Dave. And I wasn't trying to be a smart ass, but he used that for a long time. And he even had t-shirts made. I don't care what you do, Dave, with Vohne Liche Kennels on it. So that was
That's hilarious.
yes.
That's great. That's great. And that's wild for Joe Schmo, former military guy, training dogs, be on the fucking David Letterman show, you know? And,
Yes.
and so going back to what we were talking about earlier about, if you're the guy that says there's only one way to skin a cat, it's hard when you're doing good, when things are going along and you're producing good stuff and your training methods are working. It can be hard when someone might show you something different or a different way to do things, or maybe something new. And then you might, whatever. Let me try this. I got a few minutes. I got a little bit of downtime. Let me try this. Has there been anything in like maybe even the last 3-4 years even that you've been like, okay, I see what you're saying. That let me try that. It might be a little bit better way from what you've been doing for 29 years up to that point.
I'll tell you what, I'm a firm believer in stealing from anyone and everyone. I call it stealing, if you say something smart on this podcast, I will start it in my classes tomorrow and say I invented it the next day.
Right.
We have to be like that. And through my career, there's been a ton of stuff. I mean, I don't track the way I was taught in the military in the 70s. I don't do outing and bite work. We're always changing. I'll try to think of something recent, but I'm always looking. I'm always watching. And I think if you're not doing that, you're being left behind. You're one of those guys that says Malinois won't track. I get calls all the time. I need a tracking dog, but I don't want one of them Malinaises because I want a tracking dog. Well, the number one tracking dog in the war was a Malinese. Okay. And so I try to keep an open mind. I try to watch what other people are doing, and I'll think of something here in a second, but there's a lot of great trainers, like you said, and I train a certain way, but I tell them right up front, there's a lot of other ways. I do it because it works for us, and you have to use what works for you, because you can't completely change every time you see a new guy. Some of my military guys, they go to so many different trainers because they got all the money in the world, my SF guys, or past tense, but they go all over the world, and that's good because they deserve it, and they're putting their lives on the line, but they're hearing different things from everywhere, and instead of thinking about it and then implement it into their program, they're just grabbing things and doing it. I believe in change. I believe in new stuff, but make sure it works in your program, because if you don't know how to train it, I don't care how good it is, it's not going to work.
Yeah, we've talked on here. I've learned stuff from Ted. Ted's learned some stuff from me.
Yes.
I've learned things from dogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Let the dogs teach you. Yes.
Yeah. I made a post. I had a dog that I was, he's a shepherd, one of the driviest ones I've ever had. Almost, I don't want to say too much, but at the top level, man, it could be a little bit unmanageable.
Just a lot.
Right. Yeah, which is a lot. And I could not get this dog weird work. And I consider myself to be a really good tracking trainer. I produce some amazing tracking dogs. And I could not, everything was a sled ride with this dog. No matter what you did, all the things I tried would not work for food under any circumstances. I don't care what you were doing, it was not working for food whatsoever. And one day we're at the kennel, and I had walked another dog out to this one break. I go get this dog's name is Ronnie. I walk him out. I don't say nothing. I just hook him on his leash. We walk out. He tracked me and that dog all the way out and all the way back. And I'm like, huh, well, fuck, let's see what happens later today. And we did the same thing. And he tracked all the way out and all the way back. So I just started doing tracking with him, just get him out of the van and just walk over and boop, off we would go. We get to the end, he'd get a toy, and he was as shocked as anybody when he found the toy. And then he turned out to be an ungodly amazing tracker. He just had to show me how to do it.
Right.
You know, I didn't have to lead him over and tell him to track or anything like that. You just had to get him close, and he would just do it himself. And I think they're having a lot of success with them. I think they're still doing the same thing. Hook him up, get him out of the car, and let him tell you where the start is, and off you go.
You know, the Canadians taught me something. They came here when we were buying dogs, and they told me, get 10 of your dogs. We don't want to touch them. Put them in a car, and let's go out to a field. Okay. They said, all right, we're going to lay a little track right here. Your dogs are still put up. Get them out, walk up and cross this little track with turns in it. I said, these dogs have never had any formal tracking training. They said, that's okay. I said, what do you expect is going to happen? He said, the good ones watch. And I'll be damned. And I learned, this was 20 years ago, but the good ones would hit that track and without being told anything, follow that thing all the way to the end. And I about died. I said, okay. And what that told me is, like you said, they have it in them. And when you try to force it a certain way or do it a certain way, that might not be the way they want to do it. So we've got a pretty good tracking. I love tracking, by the way. We got a pretty good one here too, but let the dogs teach it.
Yeah, and there's a phrase that goes around a ton, right? So a long time ago, somebody early on in my career told me, they're like, you know, there's not a blueprint. You have to do what's in front of you. Like, train the dog in front of you. Like, I can teach you how to do this, but you still have got to become, you know, good at like identifying some of these behaviors and identifying some of the motivations and all this other stuff. And it's one of those deals that I think gets tossed around a lot. Like, I say one-liners all the time. Like, we made a bunch of them in t-shirts, but one that continually pops up that's not mine is train the dog in front of you. And so I have kind of defaulted a lot not recently, but to what you're talking about, like, you know, and you mentioned earlier, like pointers point. And I remember going to a training with a fairly large agency some of my handlers were at, and like the dog that we trained, he was a pointer and he's fucking pointing on odor, and they're like, oh, but he needs to sit. I'm like, why? Like, they're like, but he needs to sit because we want him to sit. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, I get you want him to sit, but like, why does he need to? And I yelled at my handler and he didn't know I was there. I walked up, and these other trainers who were part of the state agency certifying body and part of a national referring body. And I yelled at my handler, and I kind of cut my hands like this. And I was like, how much more fucking obvious do you need that to be before you pay that dog? Yeah. And he looks at me and he's like, I didn't know you were there. I'm like, pay him. He's like, well, I was like, I don't give a fuck what they told you. I was like, pay that motherfucker and go on. And I looked at these other guys who I know. I was like, don't fuck with them. Like, leave them alone. Like, I was like, it's not like, and so when they kind of naturally do it, I'm like, okay, like, this is what you want to do. I'm like, all right, cool. I can work with that. I was like, let's figure this out, homie. So how are we going to do this? And that's how we do a lot of things. I had a conversation today with two of my interns, and one of my green canine handlers. He's got a single purpose dog. It's a super nice dog. And he's just kind of like, I was like, you see what he's doing? He's not doing what the other ones had. And he's had. I was like, it's fine. This is your dog. So just pay attention to what he's doing. Don't worry about this one. And we're going to work with this. We just kind of like work around like what they already do. So kind of in that same vein, I don't have a ton of experience with bloodhounds. for various reasons. Even though I'm in the South, which they're super popular down here. But what is the prevailing, like, what experience have you had with bloodhounds other than them being assholes?
And if you go back and watch his TV show, you'll understand why.
Yeah, is this a setup? Is this
No,
a
we
setup?
We just want to know if anything changed from back in the day.
I just want to know.
I sell dogs for a living, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. And ask me how many bloodhounds I've got in my kennel.
3.
Zero.
It's like 0.
You know, if a bloodhound is what you're used to and what you like, go ahead. But I'll take my Malawas and my Shepherds and smoke you. And smoke you for the right reasons. What are you gonna do at the end of the fucking track with that bloodhound? What are you gonna do? You saw the show.
Oh yeah,
that was real, and that shepherd smoked that bloodhound.
He did.
In the war, all of the special forces used Malawas, and we tracked the living fuck out of those, those guys over there. I personally don't like them. Okay, I'll stick with the Malawas. And the Malawas will track you to the end of the earth. So, yeah, I don't like them.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I actually referenced that TV show, that episode quite a bit with it. Plus, some fuckers bite. They're jerks.
Yeah, you got that canine rage syndrome thing going on.
They'll bite you right in the hip.
Yeah,
some of the bloodhounds will bite?
Yes.
Yeah, they're for the wrong reason. So, and that's the thing, like, and like you said, when you get to the track, and without like kind of like pointing fingers at people and whatever else, I'm a firm believer in that. I don't like teaching single dogs that don't bite to track, unless they're in search and
rescue type situation.
Exactly, they're not in law enforcement. They can still be in a first responder thing, but unless they're search and rescue or whatever else. And to me, it's, and Eric's the same thing. Even though I have admins promise me up and down, we will not use them to do this, we will not use them to do that. I'm like, bro, you spent a shit ton of money on this dog, and you're gonna fuck. I mean, that's like saying we're not gonna use this car to chase. We're gonna wait until the troopers show up and we're gonna let them do it. Like, no, that's not how this is gonna work. And I promise you. And it becomes like this, and it goes like circling back to the beginning of this episode where we talk about liability as a myth. And it kind of, I ask, I'm like, what's the, what's the deal? Like, what? Aren't you wanting to bite people? I'm like, oh, worried about liability. I'm like, you're tracking somebody that on gram, like when we look at the gram factors, like on that third prong, like they're, they've shown that they're willing to evade.
They're felons.
Well, they're willing to evade.
Yeah.
They're dangerous. They're all these things, and I'm like, they're like, well, it looks bad. I'm like, okay. So, I really, really, really try to. And if you're an admin and you're listening to this, or if you're in a position of decision making and you're listening to this, and this is probably not the first time I or Eric have said this, if they track and you carry a gun, they should bite.
And you know what they don't understand?
That's just me.
May I jump in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What they don't understand is a good police dog, when he comes on scene, he knows, well, as you're approaching the scene, he knows, is he going up there after a felon? Or is he going up there after a child that is lost? Or is he going up there after an Alzheimer's patient that walked away? By the way we act, by the way that the sounds and the intensity, these dogs know what they're looking for. And if it's a certain intensity, they know they're going to get to bite that guy at the end of the track. If it's a morose, everybody's sad, it may be a walk away or it may be a child. And a badass dog that is trained properly can do both. They can track a kid and not bite him. But if you're biting everybody, if your system is to have a bite at the end of every track, then that doesn't work. But if you do it properly, where we track for toys, and every now and then we throw a bite in there. Every now and then.
Yeah, and Eric and
same exact philosophy.
Eric are firm believers in this. And like the dogs I have right now, I've got three dual purpose dogs that we're tracking. They will not get a bite on a track until handler school. And I can guarantee you that the second that each one of these dogs figure out that this is a prey exercise, that all of a sudden it's like game on. Like they will not. It all of a sudden they go from 0 to hero
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. And then the other thing, I yell at my fucking handlers all the time. I'm like, if you bite somebody in a track, it better not be a surprise. And if it is, I will punch you in the face.
And you better know you're going to do it before it happens. Yeah.
And from a liability perspective and from a case law perspective, obviously from Kerr, we want to bite the right people. Yeah. So if we bite the wrong people, even if we bite the right people, it had better not be a surprise. Right. And I tell my handlers, I was like, the most dangerous thing you guys do next to vehicle stops and dealing with domestics is tracking. And if you get close enough that dog can bite them or that they can reach out and touch you, we fuck that up somewhere. And I never want that to happen. So
they should teach that in they're getting close. They should be able to tell by the way the dog's acting. They should know that. Yeah. And
we teach that, and Eric teaches it. I mean, and I think that's kind of like a modern thing now is we teach that proximity alert or whatever you want to call it. And we teach it in phases. And so I teach tracking and proximity alerts and area search and all that other stuff completely separately. And so that when they do, like my handler's like, oh, we had a track. And I'm like, tell me you didn't bite somebody. They're like, no, they gave up. I'm like, that still counts.
Still counts.
That still counts. That's still a teardrop. That's still a teardrop. That counts. And I was like, don't let anybody tell you differently, because if you just accidentally roll up and fucking smoke somebody, even if it's the right one, and I say this at HRDs, and I never, if any of my handlers ever say this to me, I freak out. I'm like, oh, we got lucky. I'm like, no, you did not get lucky, you motherfucker. You did not get lucky. That denies your work and your skill.
Yeah.
And you're just throwing chance to the wind. You didn't get fucking lucky, shithead. You were trained well, and your dog was trained well, and you didn't make any mistakes. You didn't get fucking lucky. And they're like, oh, no, yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I'm like, of course it is. No. So even if it's the right person, especially they're like, oh, no, we had some cross tracks and we were tracking through an apartment complex and the dog did great. And I'm like, oh, my God, my anxiety is so high right now. Oh, tell me you didn't bite somebody wrong. And they're like, no, we found him. We didn't even bite him. It was great. We found him on reports and we're like, hey, we're going to bite you, blah, blah, blah. And the guy came out. It was great. I'm like, yeah, perfect. So
supposed to be.
Yes, that's how it's supposed to be.
Right. I tell my guys the term I use for tracking, because we track a lot over here, is you got to be a connoisseur of the wind. You got to understand that.
It's in the state song here.
More success. Yeah, it's in the song "The Wind."
Can I
one more question?
Can I bring up
absolutely.
one thing real quick?
Yeah.
The latest thing that I've been running into, and it just blows my mind, and it's coming from the legalization of marijuana. The latest thing, and I was in Chicago doing hits, and I had 500 in my room. And a guy raises his hand and he says, Mr. Licklider, how often should I proof my dog off of marijuana? Now, when he said that, 10 people, 20 people were all raising their hand going, yeah. I was convinced that Danny Parker was hiding out there somewhere and had talked these people into saying that to me. Mm-hmm. Because I stood there and I went, okay, I got to ask you a question. Is your dog trained on marijuana? No, sir. Now I know Danny set me up. I said, so you're telling me that your dog's not trained on marijuana, but you want to know how many times you got to proof him off? And I said, how many times do you proof him off of ink pens? How many times do you proof him off of shoelaces? How many times you
peanut butter?
This guy's looking at me like I'm, I got something growing out of my forehead. I said, how often do you do this? And every last one of them said, every training day. I said, you're training them on marijuana, and I moved on.
Yeah.
We're not teaching these guys anything. I still teach a relatively the same class at seminars around the world that I teach to my brand new people that and they won't let me change it. These people that bring me in, they won't let me change it because these young handlers aren't being taught anything. This guy was taught by his trainer that he had to proof his dog off of something that he was not trained on.
Yeah. Yeah, because that guy don't know shit either.
So. Yeah, exactly. So that's the new one. They're all proofing them off of shit they're not trained on. So
yeah, that's funny you say that. I sold a dog to an agency in South Carolina, and no marijuana, 3 odors, no marijuana. They wanted to see before the guy left. They wanted to see the dog work a room that had a marijuana hide and not hit on it. And I was like, what are we doing? How freaking stupid is this? And the dog, we did it because they were not going to take possession. And they were not going to let this guy roll out. And I'm like, you just don't know what you're talking about.
No.
When you got those lieutenant's bars, they drilled that hole in your
lobotomy.
Yep, and it's over.
So a friend of mine that's local is a really good defense attorney, and I had a conversation with him about this, and he said because in Oklahoma it's medicinal, right, and it's not in Kansas and not in Texas, but it is in Arkansas. So like the surrounding states were kind of like 50-50. So he said, he was like, most of the time when any of my clients are popped with things that are scheduled, there's also marijuana in the car. And he said, so it becomes an issue for me is because I know how you guys do what you do. He was like, does the dog learn that that's part of the odor? And if we go back to the soup method, right, and we're doing, like you were talking about the soup thing and like doing the whole bundling deal, right, like does the dog learn this over time? And I looked at him and I'm like, I'm not going to fucking answer that. And so he was like, but do you do it? And I'm like, well, you know, when we have, because here in Oklahoma, we have CLEAT, which is our version of Post. We have a state certification standard for the state for detection. You can choose right now whether you want to do a 3 or 4 odor dog. And regardless of what the efficacy is not beyond this conversation. But if you're already on marijuana, you have to stay on marijuana for the remainder of the career. So we have joint training days. Right. And because of US versus Jordan and some other things that we talk about, and like the dogs that are not marijuana dogs, we tell the handlers, we're like, there's some 4 odor dogs here, so you got to pay attention. And you have to pay attention to being exposed to that as well on the street. And so some of my guys that are 3 odor dogs, I'm like, well, if you find something, you need to document that the marijuana was already was already within the vehicle also, so the dog was exposed to it. But on top of that, they were exposed to fucking cigarettes and all kinds of other shit too, right? So they're like whatever. Yes. So it becomes this like, and the narrative has come from people like my friend, where it's like, well, they're also exposed to it. But I'm like, yeah, but they're also exposed to fucking cotton, and they're exposed to whatever's in the fucking car, and they're exposed to tobacco, and they're exposed to like whatever else.
Yes.
And they're like, yeah, but none of those are fucking scheduled. I'm like, okay, I get it. But
like, they're exposed to the dirtbag smell more than anything.
Well, yeah.
Here's where we started not training marijuana on any dogs here at Vohne Liche Kennels until that person tells us that they want it on their dog. And then we train the guys that don't have it on there. Go ahead and have him come up on it every now and then. Monitor how he acts when he does that. But these guys are training it every time they train cocaine, every time they train. And that's to me, crazy. That's associative. So
yeah. Oh yeah. And my other new favorite thing is the so-and-so says he can train marijuana out of the dog.
Not possible.
No. So what they're doing? They're just killing these dogs. I mean, they're destroying them,
confusing the shit out of them. Yeah.
Overcorrection. So what we're gonna do is when he gets there, we're gonna hit him at 127 on the e-collar. That's it. He'll be done. He won't ever sniff marijuana again. Oh,
right.
Okay.
Along that same vein, every time I get a group of young handlers together, they start asking me questions. I'll ask them a question about rewarding and reward schedules. Oh. I've got people out there telling these kids that I'm wrong, that I'm full of shit. And I'll ask them, do you reward on the street? And I had a girl just literally told me, you can't. And I said, what do you mean? He says, you can't reward on the street. I said, why not? Because my trainer said you can't. You don't know what's there yet. Can you imagine if she said that or a cop said that in front of a lawyer?
Yeah.
They won't reward because they don't know what's there yet. You don't fucking train. You don't certify. What do you mean you don't know what's there yet? And so it blows my mind.
Where I think that comes from, there is a large national certifying body that does the whole deal where they want you to search in the vehicle, which is ignorant of case law. And once we have a good alert, we have probable cause to get into the car. The other side of that is there is a case that is outstanding, or not outstanding. There is a case that is out there. It's U.S. versus Bentley. You can look, guys, if you're listening to this, like send me an email, send it to you, like whatever else. But it specifically talks about this. And the handler, it's in Illinois, for better or for worse, kind of fucking fumbled it during some of the questioning. But like literally, like they said, yeah, every time the dog gets out of the car, he gets rewarded. And well, and so like you can see where this goes, right? Like, so they're like, oh yeah, like he's like, so well, no, I get it, right? But so we're talking to attorneys who are not dog trainers, and like I missed the part where attorneys go through law school and they're like, oh yeah, we're taught dog behavior. I'm like, shut that. I hear so much bullshit where, don't you do this? I'm like, no, I don't fucking do that. Who does that? And they're like, well, I know. No, you don't.
Get them addicted to the drugs.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that one.
Oh, yeah.
So they tell me, they're like, well, I know somebody did this, and I'm like, no, you don't. And if you do, I probably know who they are. What's their fucking name? And they're like, well, you know, they get like really nebulous. But for everyone listening, the case is U.S. versus Bentley, and it talks about it doesn't specifically mention variable reward schedule, but it does talk about rewarding the dog every single time he gets out of the car, right? So then the dog, the argument is the dog is performing the trained final response. He's soliciting.
That doesn't have anything to do with variable response.
No, it has nothing to do with it. No, absolutely not. But
I got a guy writing magazine articles about me. He says that I am dead wrong and that I'm teaching people around the world wrong. And he says, I'm talking about the variable reward schedule. He says a dog must be rewarded every time he finds a hide. And he uses cops. He uses cops. And when he does this, I just want to hug him. He says, look at cops on the street. When on Friday, they expect to be paid. And I want to hug this guy because he's just an idiot. I go, I agree with you. But in that week, they better do more than one thing. And that's all we're asking a dog to do.
There's fucking science and there's studies that describe that variable reward schedules actually increase drive. And that now obviously we don't do it in the early stages of training.
Right.
But during a mature dog, right? Like no. And if you're not using variable reward schedules, you're just fucking wrong.
But this guy puts this in magazines and calls me the idiot. And I just I'd like to stand up in front of a crowd with him, me and him. And just, oh God.
Have him on the show. That's just not true.
We still come across training groups that don't use blanks at all. It's every car's hot, every room's hot.
No,
none.
Oh my gosh,
it's the same thing. Like, so every time the dog is asked to search, he finds something. So if he doesn't find something, he just goes find something that's familiar, and it's like, it should be here, so hook me up.
Look at all of them. Look at all of them that go to the driver's side door and respond. And all they want to do is get inside there because these guys are not rewarding outside. They're opening the door, putting them up in there, and that's where the dog learns he gets paid. So he goes to the door. It's so simple.
We've said this on the podcast multiple times, maybe 100 times, where I'm like, I don't ever teach. I mean, I teach door handles during.
I don't let them go near them.
Well, like in the initial phases, like I'll let them do it, but during handler school, I'm like, don't let him fucking sniff. I don't ever put odor in door handles, and they're like, why not? I'm like, because your first fucking find, I guarantee you, is gonna be some dickhead that just bought some fucking dope and he put it in his pocket and he used his hand to touch the door handle. And you're gonna get transfer, and that dog for the rest of his career, the first thing he's gonna do is stick his nose in that door handle like an idiot every single time. You do not have to put odor in there. I swear to God, they will find it. I promise.
And what about the guys that open the car door? They won't reward outside. They got to get them to pinpoint it. So they open the car door. Well, the dog learns, okay, I just sit on here. I get to go inside and then he'll pay me. It's so simple.
When I'm training a dog for a department. So in Ohio, we have a state standard, everything. So we can just certify. We don't have to do any nationals. But anytime I'm training a dog for an agency that is using a certain national standard, I absolutely refuse to train the inside the car. I refuse to do it.
Yeah.
I say, when he gets back to your agency, if you want to train inside the car, and eventually someone's going to set case law with that, You have to do it. I'm not gonna do it.
Motherfucker,
Plus,
get it in a name on a T-shirt.
Not right.
Master trainer.
No.
Yeah. So now with fentanyl, I'm just not putting dogs in cars.
Nah,
It's just not
I'm good.
happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? All right,
Yeah.
so we're gonna be wrapping up here in a second, but I do wanna ask a question. It's been on my mind since you mentioned it earlier. Listen, I can be easily told that I'm wrong. I personally think that the giant schnauzer thing in this industry is a gimmick, because I have seen nothing but shit dogs. Can you change my mind? Have you had a lot of experience?
No, I don't want to change your mind. I got to buy the very first ones in 1982. They came into the military. We bought 8 breeds, 8 breeds. The giant schnauzer was one of them. We brought them in to try to figure out which would be the best dual purpose dog. And I got to train at Lackland, because I was the kennel master there, 6 of each of those breeds. They were so different back then that they weren't one of the ones we chose, obviously. So their popularity, we drive the market, the military does, we do. So the giant schnauzer's popularity has gone down, and it's hard, very hard to find one that is street ready, that has been trained, street trainable. I had one 6-8 months ago. He was a beast. And I couldn't hardly sell him because he was so big and he was so strong. They are different. They're hard to find a good one. So I think people just don't bother anymore. And from that, the market drops, because those people over there want to make money. They know where the money's coming from, and they know it's in Malinois and German Shepherds and Dutch Shepherds. So can there be a good one? Yeah, but is it hard to find them? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, we've come across a few. Ted and I doing some seminars. There's been a couple of them. Boy, they have not been good at all.
No.
But they get purchased because it's different.
And they're cool looking. Yeah. I'm with you.
They're kind of cool looking. I'll give them that.
They are.
Some of the big ones are big.
Man, back in the 70s and 80s, them sons of bitches would eat you. They were just a little bit wired wrong, so we pushed them off the list. And yeah, it's hard. It's hard to find a good one. I agree with you.
Yeah. All right, man. This has been an amazing episode. So, Kenny, talk to everybody about where they can find you, where they can look if they're looking for a dog and they need a handler school, all that kind of stuff, and anything you might have coming up in the future.
Well, we have a very big school here, and I'm prejudiced because I run it and I wrote it, but there's a lot of good ones out there, but ours is a good one. We've got 600 acres, and we bring people in. We have our own hotel, our own bar, our own restaurant, and we have planes, trains, every area, and that's the key. Training in as many areas. So we've got that. We've got they're all cop instructors. They're all guys that have walked the walk and been on the street. And we try to change our course when it needs to be changed to give the best product to the policemen that come in. One thing we do every summer, and I want you guys from Ohio and you guys from Oklahoma to get your asses up here, down here, across here, is the Olympics. We have a seminar / competition every year. We've had it for over 20 years. It's designed by police. It changes every year because the judge for that particular event does it with us. It's not the same thing every time like some of these organizations, and it's all police work. And there's people from Australia, Turkey, Brazil, all over the world, and Ohio. That's a foreign country, right? There's people from Ohio.
Yes.
Yeah. But they all come in, and I want to invite everybody. Some people I think have got they think it's a Von Lick thing. No, it's not. I just started doing it with Steve Stoops many years ago. I want people in here. We have a concert at the end. This year, we've got Rush, we've got Journey, and we've got Boston.
Get the fuck out of here.
If you don't, hey, I've had everybody here. I've had Ario Speedwagon, everybody here, Foghat. But come here and compete. Come here, and it's like I want to say the word, but I'll get in trouble. It's like the other Olympics. Everybody gets a slobber and a hug. Everybody gets, everybody has a good time, and you learn. You learn because you're with some of the best. The Australians came in. We have classes. they put on the way they track. You got to sit through that and listen to them. So I'm putting it out there every August. This year it starts August 21st. Come on. And if you win a trophy at this thing, you're a bad mofo.
Let me put it in my damn phone. Can I come and sit in a lawn chair and drink all day?
You can judge. You guys can judge, or you can compete. We get judges. We get some of the best judges out there. We feed you. We have a big banquet at the end and food Thursday night. But I've seen them here. If you're into Rush, oh my God.
I'll be into that Journey, man. That's my era right there.
Journey's amazing, but you got to come. So it's August 21st, goes for 7 days, 6 days.
All right. I'm putting Olympics.
But go to seminars. Do what these guys said. Listen to other people. Don't think that however you learned or whoever taught you knows everything. They don't. No one does. I'm 45 years next month, and I still learn every day. So great thing we all got into, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So the Olympics is now on my phone, and because I have OCD real bad, I am required to follow what the phone says.
Good.
Because I have OCD real bad.
So
we got a lot of Oklahoma guys coming up here now. And
I know.
Hey, bring 3 of your best guys with your Oklahoma flag and whatever the hell you guys do, and come
it's
up
a
here
rainbow.
And beat our asses.
Yeah, it's a rainbow flag.
It's a rainbow.
Yeah, it's the national oil industry flag. That's what that's what ours is.
One last thing, what you guys are doing, along with the seminars, all this stuff, is some of the greatest things. When I came in the 70s, nobody did shit. What you guys are doing, and all you people out there, listen to these shows, listen to these guys.
Oh yeah.
You can't help but learn. So congratulations to you two guys. You guys are doing great.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
So
I
the
just
best
drink
way
beer
for
and tell jokes. So
yeah, I think we're 1.2 million downloads now. I mean, we have a lot of people listening. So
awesome.
For sure.
It's gone way more than when you were on the first time. So so best way for someone to reach out. I want to come up and see what you got. What's going on? Is it through the website, email? What's the best way?
We've got a really good website. Take a look at it. Email is kenneth@vonlick.com. There's always someone here. We love visitors. If you want to come visit, if you want to bring your dogs, if you've got dogs trained by somebody else and you want to come over here and use this 600-acre facility, give me a call. Come on. We're firm believers in synergy. We're firm believers in getting canine handlers together. That's what makes us stronger. So
you're probably 6 hours for me would be my guess.
Where are you at? What big city?
Canton, Ohio.
I don't think you're 6 hours.
It might not even be 5.5.
Yeah.
I got to go up the end of March up to Muscatatuck there. That's what, like an hour from you, maybe?
About an hour and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's not that far.
Stop in.
I may have to. So, Ted, how about you? Where can people find you?
Torchlight Canine, letter K number 9, Torchlight Pets. Of course, working _dog_radio for the podcast, and then HRD Police Canine. We just announced we're going to Bend, Oregon, June it's either 6th or the 8th or 4th to 6th. I don't remember, but it's on the thing, HRDpoliceCanine.com. That was just announced today. We got a SWAT one coming up down in Louisiana, so that's gonna happen again. But and then that's it. So that's where you can find me. That's where all the police dog stuff is, and the pet stuff, and all the fucking Frenchies we're training, and the doodles, and
all that shit.
It's teaching them to shit outside and sit on placemats. So yes.
So I'm at Van S Canine on Instagram, VANESS Canine on Instagram, Van S Canine Academy on Facebook. I haven't connected now, so I mostly just post on the Instagram and it pops over to Facebook. Ridgeside Canine Ohio is the pet side. If you want to see again all the same things Ted was talking about, I posted a video yesterday of an 8-month-old Great Dane climbing the open wooden ladder.
Dude, I saw that
police facility. Dude, I fail.
Yeah.
German Shepherds and Malinois all the time on that stupid ladder. And this giant dog, 2 steps, bloop, bloop, was up into the loft, boop, boop, right back down. I was like,
that's cool.
You are awesome.
That's cool.
So it was pretty neat. Well, Kenny, man, this was awesome. We've been looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you guys go to, say, HITS this year, Ted and I are instructing it hits. Are you at Blue Line again this year?
I was going to go, but Danny's going to go to that one because I've got some stuff I've got to do. Yeah.
So if you get to hits this year, which you should, hits canine.net is the site. Get on there and take a look at it. Go sit in Kenny's class. It's as entertaining as he is here. His class, and he, like you said, has really not changed much. But you could still, even if you've sat through your class, I've sat through twice. If you sat through it, and it's still cool to be in there and listen and hear. And you fill up a room. You get a lot of people.
Thank you.
And it's from your talent. Ted and I fill up a room. It's because of this stupid podcast.
No, that and that, yeah, and we're funny. So I mean, yeah, entertaining.
We do cuss a lot, which is
it's true, and we tell ridiculous stories. So and
show videos of my dog biting people. It's fun. It's good
and we
stuff.
pepper it with case law. So I mean, I'm like, oh, don't do this or do this, and this is why. And they're like, oh, it's great. You're funny. It's great. I learned something. I'm like, yeah.
And then he shows
exactly.
a video of me punching someone in the face on a.
That's true. Also very true. That does happen.
All right, Kenny. Thank you very much, buddy. And we'll see you all on the next one.
All right, but we'll see you.
Thanks, guys.
See you now.